Hello, 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 and happy holidays. Even though Christmas is over, New Year's is yet to arrive. I decided to get on today because it's been a while since I've been on live. I've been busy wrapping presents, spending time with family, traveling, and I am now home and things are settled down. Today was actually my first full day back working. I work from home. This is my home studio. And it was my first full day back. Yesterday, my youngest daughter, and her husband and two kids were here. They left a day early because she wasn't feeling well. Hopefully she doesn't have Omicron, but she went to get tested today to see if she did. But we're all feeling fine here, so we'll see. But so her visit was cut a little short, but that was okay because after a while you're just tired of holidays, and I just want to move on with it. I want to get on with it. Get on with 2022. Let's do it. But really, this is what I call in between week because it's a time when a lot of people are wrapping up their 2021, and then they're starting to look forward to 2022. So, what I wanted to share this evening is a great dinner conversation that we had last week. We went out of town to visit my husband's father and his wife. Spent a couple of nights. We had not seen them for over 2 years. It was actually about exactly 2 years because I saw in my Facebook memories that we had been traveled down to see them the day before we actually left to see them. So 2 years, not since the pandemic. So I thought I would share the great conversation starter that I kicked off by just a simple question. I love to sit around the table when there are a lot of people present, when there's like extended family. In this case, it was my husband, his father and his stepmom, and his brother and his brother's wife, and me and my husband. So that was, there was just six of us. But I have done things like this where I've asked a probing, thought-provoking question. And I've done that when we've had Thanksgiving dinner for like 32 people. So we obviously have different tables. So I have to have a facilitator at each table to ask the question and drive the conversation. But it is a real great opportunity to connect at a deeper level with people and get past kind of the surface conversation. And I love to do that. So I'm going to share with you what that is. But I also wanted to mention in between week because this is a week, and I talked about it in my podcast episode that I released yesterday or Monday. Yeah, I'm getting confused on the days now. So, yeah, isn't that terrible? Grandma moment. So, but that's what happens when it's holiday time, right? So yesterday, it seemed like, so long ago that I published that episode, but I published the episode and it was about my reflecting on the year of 2021. And I had 5 lessons that weren't necessarily new lessons I learned, but they were lessons that I gained more clarity on, lessons that I knew maybe theoretically, but I actually experienced them on a much deeper level. And so I shared those 5 things in my podcast episode and what I hope my podcast episode will do. And if you follow my podcast episode, you know where it is. If you don't, you can find it on notyouraveragegrandma.com/podcast. But what I hope it will do is inspire people to reflect, inspire people to take those 5 lessons that I did some reflecting on, that I said I learned. And I thought in those 5 areas, there were several things that I experienced or learned on a deeper level. And I just wanted that to provoke thought, just like my dinner conversation. I want to provoke thought and get people thinking about, like, what did they learn in 2021? And then how are they going to take that? It's so important to reflect. We're so busy jumping into the next thing and I mentioned this in my newsletter when I sent it out this morning, I wrote a little blurb to it. Every week I send out a little newsletter thing about what podcast episodes I've released. But I saw a post that Mel Robbins did, and I love Mel Robbins. I agree all the time with what she says. But for this thing that she posted, I have a little bit different perspective. She said, this is a week to do nothing. So, and she might have meant, like I think nothing is, don't do all the busy stuff, but reflect. And doing reflection is doing something, but it's just not the busy doing, because reflection is so important. I incorporate it in my regular planning routine. So every 30 days, I look back and reflect on the month that I had prior. And so it's something, and it makes looking back on the whole year a lot easier when you've had like documented it in 30-day cycles. I'm much better at doing the reflecting on what I've learned than sitting down and doing my bills. So that type of stuff I like to procrastinate, but I really get excited when I see the progress I've made, and we don't realize how much progress we've made until we reflect. And so I think in this in-between week before we start new stuff, really take time to reflect and let it inform you of what is you want for the coming year. So on to what the conversation was about. The dinner conversation, the question I asked was, what if you went back in time, what would you do differently? What would you do differently? Like, knowing we're older and wiser, right? We when we look back, we think, oh my gosh, if only I knew this then. I think about like how the things I know spiritually, the things that I know now that I like how to affirm things, how to manifest things, more about who I am authentically, like who the real person is. Some of the personality testing that I've been doing and learning about. So if only I had all that, I would have done different jobs and lots of different things. So I asked this question, and we went around the table, and one cautionary note in terms of like throwing that question out there and then like being a part of that conversation. When people start to say, I regret this, or say, I don't have any regrets. I would, the regret, people sometimes interpret what would I do differently as having regrets. And this isn't a conversation about regrets. It's not a conversation about beating ourselves up, or if, not forgiving ourselves. That's not what it's meant to do. It's just meant to like reflect and say, hey, and the reason why I bring this question up and why I brought it up is because what I want people to realize is that no matter how old we are, there's still time left to do what we wished we had done then. Who says that we can't do? There's a lot of things that we can do. So why say we can't? Why say that ship has sailed? Why say that opportunity is past? No, it's not past, or maybe that specific has passed, but knowing what you know now about, you wish you had done things differently relative to that, maybe there's a new opportunity. Maybe there's something completely different that will allow you, if you think about it, if you reflect on it, will drive you to do something new that if you hadn't had that reflection, you wouldn't have even thought of. So it's like a question that fuels ideas. It's a question that will feed your soul some maybe universal downloads. I love universal downloads. So feed that. So I wanted to share that conversation. Just wanted to hop on here for a short live. And I have my new, my daughter gave me this That's why I like extending, having people after Christmas, extend Christmas. And I love these fuzzy tops. It's so warm and cozy. I'm so excited. And that's probably another reason why I want to get on live so I can show off my new top. So anyways, and I also, I'm working on like updates to my studio. So I have a new table back here. It's a new table, and I have a new, there's a framed picture. It says, it's hard to see, live your life joyfully. So I love that because my middle name before I got married, because I kept my maiden name as my middle name, but my middle name used to be Joy. So yes, I love that word. And then I got this because I thought, isn't this something that is important to show? Like to show that sands of time, the hourglass, that time's a ticking and we got to make the time so worth it, right? But for some reason, I don't think the sand is coming through. It stops at a certain point. I think it's a magic hourglass. Got to figure out what's wrong with it. Why isn't the sand coming out? But anyways, yeah. So that's a new little gift I bought myself when I was at the outlet mall in Asheville. So yeah. So doing a little I got the wall done and the paint on the wall. So now we're working on the furniture and the decorations, if you will. So if you have any ideas of stuff I can put on the wall, and I'm still not sure I like the color. I think it needs to be a little lighter. It came out a little too gold for me, but we'll see. We'll see. It works for now. So just not that really bright pink anymore. So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you have a good in-between week. And I hope that your reflections, that you use this time, this kind of downtime, which a lot of people have this time of year, to reflect and let it inform you and give you clarity on what you want to do in the coming year. It's really worth the time. It's worth the quiet time to invest in that time to feed your mind those ideas, those lessons, and how that's going to feed your future. All right. Bye.